Hey, thanks, Pace. In the world of real estate, Pace Morby has paved the way to make investing more accessible than ever. And in this podcast, we show you how it's done creatively. I'm your host, Jordan Wittenberg, one of the Subto and Owners Club leaders in Boise, Idaho. And today I'm joined by one of our leaders in Subto who's teaching within Gator, within Subto, super active in Owners Club in the co-living space. And she's going to be sharing with us a deal she did based out in Hawaii. Right now, she's in Oregon. Tracy Koa, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Jordan. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. I know you're a seasoned vet when it comes to podcasts and teaching in this space. And before we dive into this deal in Hawaii, super cool seller finance deal that you took down, tell us a little bit about your background prior to getting involved with the communities that PACE has created.
Of course. So I was an educator for 25 years. I started teaching preschool and I ended up leaving that field of education, teaching high school. So everywhere in between. And I think a lot of educators and probably a lot of folks just in general, after COVID, through COVID and after COVID, there were so many changes that, especially in education, that I found myself becoming that grumpy teacher that nobody wants to be. And so I started thinking to myself, what are some other things that I can do? Honestly, I didn't really know because I'd been so confined to education. And I think a lot of us get stuck in that, right? We're doing our W-2, it's the thing we know. And you really can't imagine where else do I fit in the world, right? And even if we have this idea of, oh, it'd be so cool to do this, then there's the whole thought of, but how do I learn that, right? And maybe I'm in my 30s and 40s and I've been in my career all these years. So it was a big leap of faith. But I decided to get into real estate for two reasons. My father had been a real estate investor, although while he was alive, I never really paid much attention. But after his passing, I really got to see how successful he was, right? He had a massive portfolio of real estate. I would have never known. And I don't know, it just seemed unique and exciting. I knew that I'd be able to connect with people. And that's something I love. That's a skill I brought from my W-2 job as an educator, was getting with people, supporting people, lifting people up, motivating people. And so I thought, oh, I bet I could do some of that in real estate. And so I was able to transition those skill sets over into real estate.
Very good. That skill of connecting, communicating, and then uplifting others can serve you in anything you're doing. And I'm curious, why do you think it was that your dad didn't share with you about the portfolio he had built?
We didn't really talk much about his business side of things. And he actually was a closing attorney in South Carolina. So he owned several firms called Murray Law. And that's kind of how he transitioned. He was a realtor, transitioned into, he became an attorney and opened these law firms. So when we did talk, it was more, kind of thing. So I knew he had rental properties, but I didn't know how in depth he was, right? And I was so stuck on, I'm a teacher, right? And so I think probably at some point he probably gave up on me and was like, whatever, you don't want to get wealthy, you just want to be a teacher and live off of minimal salary, go for it, kid.
Yeah. You're doing something you love and you find fulfillment in and meaning in the lives of these young people and teaching them.
Yes.
And I think maybe that what you get stuck in, this is the only vehicle that I can use my skill set. Because if you look at even what you're doing now, you're still teaching. You're still really in education. You're just compensated differently and you're in a different vehicle and a different field.
There's so many ways that people can bring those skill sets from their life before, right? I was teaching in Gator frequently. I would get a lot of new investors and they would say, thank you for your help. I don't know how I can help you. I don't really know anything. Go, hold on a sec. You're like in your 40s and you have a career, or you still have a career. You have skill sets. It's just, how do we help you hone them in? I'll give you a quick example. On our team, so I have a business where we buy real estate and we build new co-living real estate. And we have someone on our team who in the fire field, he was a firefighter, EMT, and he brings the skill set of and so he's the person on all of our projects that makes sure that there are no safety issues, right? When we buy a new project, he makes sure that detectors work and all the safety equipment works on our new construction kind of thing. He does the
Hmm.
walkthroughs. So he was able to find a way to take this skill set and the thing that he loves and bring it into real estate.
That's a great example, because if anyone who's ever had to underwrite a deal, which is any responsible investor,
Right.
yeah, the things that you need to cover yourself on and be protected.
Yeah.
So I like how you're connecting this, what your job may be. You are developing skills one way or another, and those skills can transfer to other industries like real estate that can be much more profitable.
Yeah. My partner's business has tremendous experience as a project manager. That skill set that he brings is bar none one of the highest value.
Hmm.
I bring the education. Our other partner has a master's in finance. So he's like, I'll be all of the numbers. But then Kaipo brings this project management, and he's really able to help myself and Dustin, who are more the visionaries, kind of us back to earth, right? And help us make sure that the projects are on track. So
Hmm.
you can always find a skill set in your W 2 and relate it to real estate. Always.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point. And that's why I imagine Pace created the Avatar series, recognizing that we all have different strengths. We all bring different things to the table
Right.
and can hone and refine those skills. And as you expand and your network expands, you learn in other areas than maybe you knew before.
That's right.
And that's all good. But not necessarily, I have to know everything myself, which is a lot of business owners fall in that I have to do everything
Yeah.
myself. I don't trust anyone. I think what Pace has created within Subto is all these different people, different strengths, and go find the person that is an expert and
Yes.
squad up and partner and JV, do these things together.
Jordan,
And
it's
now it's done.
yes, like I'm so glad you bring that up. It is one of the number one things I say to people when they reach out and they're new and they're like, I don't know where to get started. You need to partner up with people. You need to JV with people. You do not need to do this by yourself. That's is one of the we could talk about this later if we have time, but it's one of the pinnacles of why we created our business model. And
Right.
because that is an area that we saw people needed support was partnering up and getting
Yeah.
not doing it alone.
Right. And I would just add to that, a way to do it. I think people get stuck in this, well, I don't have anything to bring to the table. They're brand new.
Yes.
And one thing Pace even brings up is like, hey, you can be a friend to somebody. You can listen to somebody. And there's a skill set you can develop. Don't just be like, okay, I have no skills, I have no experience. Now I'm just going to go latch on to someone who does.
Right.
You can learn from them, but get good at something. Inventory of your own gifts
Yes.
and skills, and double down on that and
Yes.
focus on that. And even if you're not the best, that's okay. But bring something to the table.
I love that you say that 100%.
Yeah. Let's dive in with this deal in Hawaii. I know this was a seller finance deal, super cool. I'm going to let you take us through it. There were multiple members of the community that were
Yep.
involved. So
Yeah.
take us through this deal out in Hawaii.
Love it. I'm about squatting up, right? So we had the wholesaler, real estate agent. Yes, we used a real estate agent as
Yep.
well as for the investors. Okay. And sub two. So, creating these relationships is huge, and that where it all stemmed from. So I spent quite a bit of my adult life living in Hawaii, and I have other rentals in Hawaii. And I'm very passionate about providing affordable housing there because the housing market is extraordinary and the minimum wage has not met up to
Yeah.
housing, which is pretty much everywhere in the US, but it's really
Right.
challenging there. And so all of my real estate in Hawaii is long term rentals to local families,
Hmm.
bar done, hands down. And so I built relationships with wholesalers that were, in Hawaii. And so Grant Walker is who I worked with on this deal. Grant's tremendous guy. They have a lot of great projects going on in Hawaii. And so he brought this project to me. At
Hmm.
the time he brought it, he was considering staying in the project himself. But as we talked through his goals, they were just different than my goals. And so I said, yeah, I don't think that's going to work, but thanks a lot. And so then he reached out to Jason Sampson, who's also in Sub 2, lives in Hawaii. Now, Jason and I knew each other, but never really connected. So Grant shares this deal and his vision with Jason, and Jason's kind of similarly to me, like, it's not necessarily aligned with his goals.
Yeah.
So Grant's like, I'm over you guys. Like, I'm going to put the two of you together because you guys have this crazy vision and it's aligned. So Jason and I got on a call and we looked at the deal together. We talked about our goals and our vision, and we are so aligned with our values and our goals for Hawaii. And so Jason and I started just tearing the deal apart. It is seller finance. So there were lots of intricacies that really had to be worked out. When you're looking at seller finance, talking about you paying back the seller. When is that balloon payment due? And you got to consider the market and will it appreciate? And how much do we need to put in? And how much do they want down? And all the things.
Yeah.
One of the great things I love about working with a wholesaler, if you've got a wholesaler that's really dedicated, they will do a lot of the forth communication with the seller. They'll do a lot of the negotiations with the seller. And so the seller had a realtor who, fortunately, we all knew. The realtor is totally open to creative, really open to helping support the negotiations. And so Jason and I were able to communicate with Grant, our wholesaler, the concerns or the challenges or whatever it was that we wanted. And then Grant, the realtor, all the negotiations. We were in negotiations on this probably for a month, right? And again, guys, if you're listening to this and you haven't done a deal yet, but you're getting involved, deals take a while, especially creative deals, closed deals that have taken over a year, right? And it's just that follow up and the whole piece. So
Yeah.
a month really wasn't a long time, but we had a lot of back and forth. We were able to come to a great agreement. And one of the things I loved is that we came up with, I think, a really creative way to support one of the needs of the seller. The seller's biggest concern was, if I let this go and I give you a 7-year balloon, what if you don't do anything in 7 years? And in 7 years, I have to take the property back and it's fallen apart. When you talk about places by the water, California, Hawaii, Florida, the Carolinas, you have deterioration of the property, saltwater, the storms. So it is really a very valid point that he had, right?
Sure.
And so we built in an agreement that we would certain amount of equity. We agreed on $80,000 over a 3-year period.
Okay.
For us worked, we knew we were going to do some rehab. It was a multifamily property.
Yeah.
We knew we wanted to, so that we could utilize it as a multifamily, but also open it up to create a multi-generational living opportunity, right? This is huge in Hawaii, lots
Yeah.
of places in the US, but very much so in Hawaii.
Very family based, oriented. Yeah.
And so, pardon me,
hmm
it just provides people with an affordable way to live, a way to support the elderly as well as the young people in the home,
hmm
and continue to create community within that family. So for us, that's something that's really important to us in Hawaii, is supporting families and especially keeping the community together, keeping the kiddos and the seniors engaged. And so, again, that's what we ended up doing. We
Okay.
got family in there. We rent it at, and really just below market rent. And we still cash flow about $2,000 a month, right around there.
Nice.
This was finance. Everybody thinks you can never in your life get a good deal in Hawaii. I'm here to tell you you're wrong. Paid $750,000. It is across the street from the ocean.
Wow.
It is 2 stories. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath up top, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath down below. It has a 200 square foot deck that overlooks the ocean, sunset, you name it.
Beautiful.
4% interest with a 7-year balloon. So pretty good rate, pretty,
Great. Yeah.
we put about, if I remember correctly, 75,000 down, which is
Okay.
a little high, but in the location we are in Hawaii, it's guaranteed to have some great appreciation. We have other real estate in that area, so we know that market very well.
hmm
And so we knew that it would be well worth that 75,000 down.
And you're thinking, especially within 7 years, things are going to get to a point where, hey, we definitely ways to pay this off or
Yeah.
refinance or
Yeah.
your thoughts on that with the 7-year balloon.
Yeah, question. So I'll never take anything other than or longer years for a balloon.
Yeah.
That's because in my experience, you want to give it time for that asset to stabilize,
5
and
or less. Right.
yeah, so you want 5 or more years, right? To
Minimum
have it
5.
stable. And then you want to be able to see what that market's looking like right about then. Obviously, it's only so much you can do to gauge a market. It changes so dramatically.
Mhm.
But at that 5-year mark, we'll start to really pay closer attention to the market and the rates, and decide if we want to hold it. And then we would refinance, pull out any equity, ourselves back that down payment, and then decide if we want to do any additional work on the property.
Yeah.
We might sell it at that time too, just depending on whether we want to move to a different asset class, or, that's how we do all of our projects, even our new construction that we do. Anytime we're buying an asset that we're converting to co-living, we're definitely looking at that, holding it for 5 years. The other reason too is on traditional real estate, if you're taking out long-term debt, you can buy down your rate with a 3 or 5 year prepayment penalty
Mm.
usually. And so I usually pick the 5 year because I know I'm going to hold the asset for 5 years typically. So might as well buy down my rate by having that 5 year prepayment penalty in place.
Gotcha. Okay, good. So you kind of plan in place. You've done this before. I would also point out competence level of knowing this market and the value with you already having
Yeah,
properties there being very helpful. And I'm curious with agents are open to creative terms.
true.
One thing we deal with a lot is having to educate and teach and overcome objections in that space. But for this deal, the agent was open to it from the beginning. What about the seller? How's the seller? Was there anything you needed to explain terms and why this was beneficial to them? And I'm curious, with your background as an educator, if you had a unique approach to explaining the benefits
Yeah,
to seller.
that's such a great question. The seller did have a lot of questions, and they were extremely motivated. It had been on the market for quite a long time, not a full year, but getting
Hmm.
pretty close. And they never used the home. It sat there. They were paying the insurance. It was, beaten down by the weather, and they were spending money to have to go there
Bleeding.
to. It was totally bleeding, and it was an asset that they um, mother actually lived there, but they had already moved her out and moved her back to the mainland. So yeah, it was just really a burden.
Hmm.
They were open to hearing ideas. They did have a relationship with their realtor, and they really trusted their realtor. So it was, in this case, it was really the realtor that helped educate them and kind of them. But in other projects that I've worked on, specifically Subto, there's a realtor involved. You're kind of educate the realtor and also the seller at the same time
Right.
sometimes, right? And you typically have to sell the realtor on it first because your seller trusts the realtor, right? So
Yeah.
if the realtor's like, I don't really know. The seller's like, no.
Yep.
So get into my experience in education has been very helpful. I have done
Hmm.
everything from a video that I've sent that breaks it down so that they can rewatch it, presentations, Pace's YouTube videos.
Hmm.
Really, what I do is I learn, how does the seller or the realtor like to learn, right?
Mm.
What am I learning from these conversations? Is it when I write it down? Am I watching them write it down? When I'm verbally explaining it? Is it when I share them a video? I try to figure out how they learn best and then meet them where they're at.
That's so good. I think about the way Pace teaches within the community, and he has an amazing gift for speaking someone else's language.
That's it. Yep.
Speaks to them in their language, and in this case, you're actually putting a little twist on it with you're adapting to their learning style,
Yeah.
and
Because if they're
that's good.
a visual learner and we're on the phone and I'm just blah, blah, it would go over my head. Like when I first joined Subto and was listening to Pace's, time and going through the content, there's so much amazing content. I'm a visual learner, so I was able to learn really quickly. But if that was all just in a writing, I think I would have struggled. I was in a mentorship, not a community, but a mentorship before joining Subto. And
Hmm.
most of it was just written material. And boy, did I struggle. Once I joined Subto, and there were all these different ways I could learn. Content that backed up the video content. And then there was live content where you could ask questions. It all started to sink. So Pace does a phenomenal job. And I learned that from him is I've got to meet these people where they're at, because I could
Hmm.
talk all day. I might know how a Subto transaction works inside and out. But if the person I'm speaking to isn't learning via that modality, it's useless,
Hmm.
right?
That's great. I think we emphasize the importance of listening to the seller a lot, which is great. Listen to the agent, but you're kind of a step further with like, not just listen, like reserve them.
Yes.
And you're taking mental notes on how they connect, how they learn, and what resonates with them.
Yeah.
That's some advanced rapport building right there.
Well, guys, yeah, thank you for noticing that. It is a skill set I think I brought from education, but I also realized really early on, I spent most of my first year in real estate as a gator and learning about lending. A lot of this is about pain points, right? If you're trying to buy real estate from a distressed seller, you need to understand their pain points. And people don't always tell you what they are, but you can recognize sometimes the pain point in their tone of voice, their body language. Those are important skills to learn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then the other point I think is getting the agent on your team. If you can, it's so valuable because now it becomes a collaborative effort of like, oh, we get a deal done. Like, I know how we can do it. I know you want to do it.
Yep.
Speaking to an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Now the seller has to be on board too.
100%.
And if there's one link in that, it's not going to work.
100%. Share one of the skills that I have used that's helped me be really successful is when I'm in a market. So I'm not afraid to buy on market real estate because at the end of the day, if the numbers work, they work. That's all that matters, right? So for example, have real estate in Florida. And so I early on connected with realtors that I met in the Subto community. So are you what we call unicorn agents that know and understand creative real estate. And I said, hey, would you be open to representing me? Now, I might still find some of these deals myself, but I want your support to close the deal if it's an on market deal. I will pay you whatever you want. And it makes no difference to me whether or not I bring the deal and you are helping with the communication between you and the other, at the end of the day, paying a few $1,000s to get a deal closed. I would rather do that so I can have more and more deals closed than struggle and lose deals and waste time and waste money. So that was one of the best things that I ever did was build relationships with realtors that are open to creative finance and that can educate, not just open to it, but understand it well enough that they can educate another agent so they can educate the seller's agent. They talk their own language. I don't know how realtors talk. Like I don't even know half of that language. So I'd rather just like people do what they're best at, right? That is not an area of expertise for me. So why would I try to learn it or do it?
Right. Well, the language might be, so is it a 2.5% commission or 3?
Right.
I mean, big piece.
Yeah.
So if you come in from, you take care of them up front, which I know Pace leads with that and teaching it in Jamil. We're going to take care of you. Don't worry. And now let me explain how we can help your client at the same time.
Yes. We take great care. We've got a great relationship with 2 of our agents in Florida. And they were paid instead of their agent commission in equity in the project that they helped us close. They will walk away with 10 plus times what they could have made in that commission. And again, that's just building that relationship. And and at that deal, we're like, what would benefit you the most, right? We can pay you your 2-3%, or we can, this structure. And so we let them choose. And great way to build more rapport.
Definitely. And as an agent, that was my getting my foot in the door. I thought that's what it meant to be in real estate, was getting your license and representing clients. But then you're not really taught that, hey, you could actually be getting equity in these deals if you play your cards right here. Now, commission can be nice. It's active income and can pay the bills. But in the long term, it's those who are acquiring properties or getting portions of ownership that are really building something long term.
Yeah, we did one where the agent received like one close and the rest in equity. The time we did our second deal together, he said, oh, I don't want any money. I just want equity. Because he had gotten some quarterly distributions from his equity from that first deal. And he's like, this is gold. I know, but you had to figure that out yourself. So, Howard, you got it. Equity it is.
Yeah. So kind of a mindset shift in how you approach deals, and you're there, and it starts with education. How much more valuable that is.
Yeah.
Now, as we wrapped up this deal, I know you partnered. We talked about the value of building good relationships with agents, but you partnered with multiple community members
Yeah,
on this deal to help get it to the finish line.
that's right.
Talk about how the value of multiple communities, Subto, Owners Club, Gator, since joining that, as opposed to that past mentorship you were a part of, how that has accelerated your growth in the space.
Oh, yeah. Just no words to describe it, truly. I went from spending a year, what I felt like was spinning my wheels, lots of that analysis paralysis, not
Mm-hmm.
feeling like this is scary business, guys, right? And I'm in my 50s, and it's even scarier when you're a little bit older because there's less room for error. Big deal. And I didn't feel like I had the support either. And so I was really felt like even though there were all these people, there weren't people doing the thing. And the reason was that as soon as people started doing the thing, they left because there wasn't the support they needed to grow.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing. So when I transitioned over, I joined two shortly after I joined Gator, and the support is phenomenal. So Pace has created this community where you are really asking us to step up as leaders. It's really that as you become successful,
Yeah.
you're going to hold your hand out and help others them up because that's what happened for me. I joined instantly. I connected with someone named Justin Tumanowski. This is a man I didn't know it at the time. I mean, I was running a very successful business, was extremely busy, and yet he would hop on a Zoom for an hour, give me my full attention. And never in my wildest dreams did I think he was stepping away from this very busy business to connect with me.
Yeah.
That's how Pace has taught us. That's how we do it. So that gives you the support that you need, right? You're really encouraged to partner up with people, to JV with people, to team up with people, and to share. I have
Yep.
never once felt a lick of competition at all. I feel like I can reach out to anybody and everybody. I can share honestly and openly
Yeah.
for support. No one's ever like a dumb question or you don't know how to do that. It's like, yeah, let me help you do that. Or yeah, let's walk through that together.
Yep.
That's what you need to be successful in real estate. That's what you need to be able to invest $75,000 of your hard earned money into a project and go, boy, I really hope I ran the numbers right. I really hope that this
Yeah.
works out.
Yeah.
You cannot recommend it anymore to people. If you really want to get involved in real estate, it will be the best investment that you ever make. If it's something you're like, I just want to do this part time, honestly, I think it even helps you even more. It helps you accelerate if you're just a part timer, getting to that next level and that next step a lot quicker.
Yeah. I'm so encouraging to hear the impact it's made on you and your business and your life in so many ways. And Tracy, as we move towards wrapping it up here, what kind of deals are you looking for doing other with community members?
Oh, you're asking. Yes, my partners, Drosky and Kaibo Cordera, and I have
Mm-hmm.
created a business model based off of some of the challenges we've seen people face in the field of co-living. So we're completely focused on co-living. We currently are focused on new build construction. So from ground up construction specific to co-living. So we do 10 bedroom, 10 bathroom homes. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
has their own bathroom. There's a full kitchen and kitchenettes on each floor, multiple laundry. And so the way that we fund these projects is we bring in equity partners. So we bring in real estate investors that are interested in learning about co-living, whether they want to buy their own or they want to partner with people or they just want to have a passive that's making a difference. So
Mm-hmm.
we have a vision to empower 10,000 investors to get involved in this really a shared journey in co-living.
Yeah.
And so we share our expertise. We really try to cultivate connection and bring a sense of purpose to these investments. And currently have 3 projects with over 100 investors. And we
Yeah.
built a phenomenal team to support us in the growth. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for investors that want to learn about co living, You can invest for as little as $5,000 in most of our projects. So
Yeah.
at the bar
Fractional.
low. So it's like, come on in. If you've got 5 grand and you want to learn about co-living, you're going to earn money, right? So you're an equity partner. You own the real estate. You're on the HUD, you're earning distributions, and you're learning. And we offer other opportunities for folks if they don't have the money to get involved. One of the best ways to connect with us is we do free office hours twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday, focused on co-living. You can hop onto those. You can ask questions, sit and listen, bring a deal. We'll underwrite it live.
Yeah.
Just go to colivingsemesters.com and you'll get all the free resources there. That we do honestly is free. We are so passionate about supporting other people learning how to do co-living. We're so grateful for all the free resources and support we got in the Subto and Gator and Owners Club community that no better way to pay it forward than to just provide free education.
Beautiful. Amazing. How can people reach out to you directly, Tracy? We've got the website, but
yeah, great. I've got my handle. So I'm at Tracy Koa on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. Lots of free content up on YouTube as well. So at Tracy Koa, send me a DM. Let me know how I can support you, how I want to get involved, and we'll get you plugged into the right people.
guys, reach out. Tracy Koa, that's Koa is how you spell her last name.
Yes, thank you. Oh,
And
it's that we're not on a video here.
right, yes, Tracy Koa. To her on Instagram and get in contact with her for any looking to get into co-living or be part of that fractional capital raising, all kinds of good things you're doing. Tracy, amazing deal in Hawaii. Congratulations on that. And thank you for everything you're pouring back into the community and continuing to educate in a new way.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Jordan.
Absolutely. Well, guys, you guys know where to find Tracy. Thank her again for being here. And if you're listening today and you're a member of Subto, Gator, Top Tier TC, and you'd like to have a chance to get featured on the Get Creative podcast, you can reach out to Taya at pacemorby.com. That's TAYA at pacemorby.com. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.